Ian, sorry to remind you, but we did lose 2-1 at home to Newtown on Friday. As the Chief Operating Officer, how do you then divorce your professional side in terms of your role with the club from the fact that you do become a fan? Because football is different from any other profession, really, in that sense.
That's right, Stuart, and obviously you have to remain as professional as you possibly can within the emotion of the game. And I think in previous discussions that we've had, we've talked about planning for the week, and a lot of the planning is around 90 minutes of the game at the weekend, whether it's a Friday night game, like I said before, or a Saturday game, and we're all supporters of the club, whether it's myself, whether it's the supporter off the street coming to watch the team play, somebody going into hospitality. So everybody's there to support the team. And yes, we were disappointed with the outcome of the result on Friday night, but we pick ourselves up, don't we, on Monday morning and go again. And I'm sure Scotty and Evo and the team will be hurted somewhat, but over the weekend, but they'll be back to normal business, no doubt, on Monday, and raring to go for the game at Ballatown on Friday night.
And the positive, of course, is that we're still 1 point in the lead at the top of the table.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's obviously where we want to stay. And like we said before, the league is getting better and better, and now we're at the business end of the season. Those top six sides are playing each other, so there's going to be lots of points won and lost with all of those teams from now until the end of April. So hopefully, as we've done in the past, we'll continue to dominate in this sort of period of the season, and hopefully end up on top of the pile again.
In episode 2, we talked about the scholarship, but that leads nicely this time round, because we're going to talk about TNS Academy. And as we did with the scholarship and other areas of the club that we've addressed, let's go back in time. You've been here 17 years, Ian. What was the academy situation like back then?
I think that was one of my tasks. I think really when I joined the club back in 2003, Peter Griffiths and Martin Pope, who I'd mentioned, were very much involved in developing the academy at that time. I think we had 30-40 players training out of a field in Myford, where Myford Football Club played. Obviously we had the facilities at Lance and Fried, which we were afforded to, but those facilities went our own. We rented those off the local council. The changing facilities were part of the village hall, so it was part of the sort of bigger plans of the club, I suppose, really, to look at how can we develop a structure within the club where hopefully we can encourage players to come through a system and hopefully play at first team level. So I was involved, I suppose, nationally within the national structure at that time. We had an academy working group which I sat on originally before I joined the football club in 2003. The likes of Keith Harding, who was chairman of Newtown at the time, Marion Appleton from Aberystwyth, John Deakin, who was the secretary of the League of Wales, Malcolm Allen, who we all know from the Scorio football programme. So there was a group of us that got together at the time to look at ways in which we can develop our own system in Wales, and part of that was the UEFA club licensing, which was coming in at that time, and each of the clubs within the League of Wales, as it was, had to have a structure in place to encourage young players to come through their club structures. And like I said, I was part of that. Actually, prior to that, I actually coached within the first regional squads, even before the academies, when Mike Rigg was the technical director at the FAW. I actually coached at the regional centre at Deeside, and we had a similar setup in South Wales. So very much part and parcel of what I'm about, I suppose, and I like to think that in the time that I've been involved in developing that, not only within the club but within Wales, we've come a long way.
And if we fast forward to the present, well, the academy has come on in leaps and bounds, full-time staff, activities going on every single day of the week. You must be personally pleased with the development of the academy.
Absolutely, really proud of what we've achieved at the football club in really a short space of time, if you like. Really, we've we're in a nice place as it currently stands in terms of being afforded additional funding via the UEFA Solidarity money. That's enabled not only ourselves but all of the clubs in the Cymru Premier to look at how they structure themselves in order to develop players for the future, whether that's players to play in the first team or whether that's players to move on to bigger and better things. But we've looked at and we continue to look at our academy structure and how we can improve. And this year with having Chris Sargent on board as our head of coaching, Simon Smith is doing an excellent job with the scholarship programme. We have Jason Brindley who heads up our academy programme and well assisted with Kieran Lee Birch and Ash Russell and a number of coaches who assist with all of the age groups, and we've got age groups from under 7s right the way through to the under 16s, and then they make that transition through to the scholarship programme, and hopefully then they'll be then good enough to make the grade into the first team.
And even a casual glance on the surface indicates that we play the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers, West Bromwich Albion, Manchester United. We could go on, but that list of top teams in the English system indicates just how highly the New Saints Academy is thought of in terms of an opponent.
Yes, I think so, and I think it's important, that our players now get 3 contact times a week, which is no different to what academies get in England, whether it's a Category 3 academy, Category 2 academy in England. I think what we've got at the New Saints is as good as what happens over the border, and I think what's happening now is that we're encouraging more of those players that perhaps in previous years would make the decision to go to a Cat 3 or a Cat 2 academy in England, then they now making that decision to stay with us because of the structure that we've got, because of the quality of the coaching that they receive, not only once a week but 3 times a week. But I think more importantly, because of the games programme, I think you can be coached, but I think it's all about that game at the end of the week, I think, really, and whether it's the first team or whether it's an under 7 player, everybody looks forward to that game, don't they, at a weekend. And I think what we've managed to achieve within the academy is lots of clubs want to play us, which is good. It gives our young players great experience playing in different environments, and whether that's at a Premier League club with all the riches that are afforded to clubs playing in the Premier League, and their facilities are fantastic as we know, or with clubs being invited down to players at Park Hall. And I must say we have really favourable comments when teams come and play us at Park Hall with the facilities that we've got there, which certainly help to attract better players to our academy programme.
You mentioned 5 names there, of course, they're all full-time with TNS Academy. Has the addition of full-time coaches made your job easier, or has it just increased the workload, in a nice way, of course, so that you are perhaps more involved but on a different level?
Yes, I think so. We have regular communication, we have formal meetings on a monthly basis, so we keep track of where we're at with players at all age groups. So obviously Scott and Steve Evans have a big part to play in that, especially with that sort of transition period from those players that are coming through the youth team into the first team, and asking ourselves the question, I suppose, are these players ready? Obviously we've got John Rhodes as well on the recruitment side to ensure that we're always on the lookout to improve not only the first team within the football club but also the academy at all age levels. So I think it's very much a combined structure that we've got. Everybody gets involved. I think my job is just really there to make sure that what we're doing adheres to all of the rules and the regulations, and the coaches are there to deliver the programme to make sure that we retain the best players within the structure, and hopefully can attract better players into the club. And I think it's fair to say that most, if not all, of the clubs in the Cymru Premier, with the additional funding that's been afforded to the clubs, I think you'll see in the next 5-10 years, hopefully, more players coming through the academy structures and playing in the first team, and hopefully more Welsh players coming through the structure and playing for Wales. But I think the important thing from our point of view is that they get that good grounding, that good education from a football point of view at an early stage, and hopefully they can use that and travel through the structure that we've got, and hopefully play for our team, hopefully in Europe one day in the future.
And as we've seen the academy progress over those 17 years, what lies ahead for the future?
Like I said, it's with more investment, with more facilities, with better facilities, not only with ourselves but with the league across the board. Hopefully we can encourage those players that in the past have always tended to migrate to England. It's always an easy option, I suppose, to go and join a Cat 3 academy or a Cat 2 academy in England over the border. And I think because of what we've created at the New Saints, a lot of those players are making the decision now to stay and be part of what we're about. There's lots of discussions going on behind the scenes, as you can imagine, in terms of how can we continue to improve the structure in Wales, and that's an ongoing process, and hopefully over time we'll hopefully have more and more players coming through that structure that will not only play for our first team but lots of the first teams within the Cymru Premier.
We started our chat today discussing JD Cymru Premier Match Day 23. Let's move on finally to Match Day 24. It's Bala Town away. As we know, no easy game, but this week Scott and the troops have a week to prepare ahead of that one.
Yeah, like we said, there's no easy games as there at this stage of the season. It's very much the business end, and I know in previous visits to Bala we've always had good fortune. Although earlier on in the season they took the spoils, but generally speaking we always perform well over in Bala, and hopefully that will be the case on Friday night. Like I said before, the boys no doubt over the weekend will be hurting somewhat, but they're as professional as anybody within the football club, and they'll be dusting themselves down, ready to go again and for the challenge on Friday night, and hopefully we can come away with 3 points and stay on the top of the table.
Indeed, let's hope it's a happy journey to Bala and back on Friday. Ian, as always, thank you for your time, and we look forward to next week's episode, which will of course be episode 4. As they say, Ian, time flies.
Thanks very much.